Hey everybody, it's Travis speaking again. Last session we talked a little bit about sub-object selection and manipulating geometry using different facets. Maybe we would use a polygon or vertices. And so as you can see, we got some of the geometry from the last video. And what I want to talk about today is kind of a secondary function of the edit poly modifier, and it's called soft selection. So to just add some context to this environment that we have here, I'm going to bring in a plane and we're going to make it look topographical. So I create that plane, and as you can see, it's got 80 segments in the width and 80 segments in the length. So if we take a look at this, you can see that we've got a good decent grid here to work with. I'm just going to change the color of this to this yellow color for some contrast. Now because we have that segmented grid, I can go right to my edit poly and apply that modifier for us to work with. So we'll choose edit poly, and again you see that when I choose vertices I get this nice dense grid that I can work with. So using soft selection, you can see it here, it's right underneath where the selection tools are. So you just expand that by hitting the plus sign, and then there's a check mark to activate it. So I'm going to check this off, and now you can see that if I start to make any selections, it's going to create that soft selection as opposed to the hard selection that you see here. So right now if I was to make any changes, it makes a direct change to all of those vertices. But with soft selection in place, it applies a fall off in the same shape as what you're seeing here. So if you change this fall off, you'll notice that towards the edges they're less effective, or less affected, sorry. So now you can see a bit of a dip. I'm going to make another soft selection here. I'll make a much bigger selection here, and I'll raise this up a bit, and maybe we'll make another one over here. So what you can see here is I'm just adding some topographical surface changes to this plane, and if we look at that in an orthographic view, you're starting to see some more changes in this grid. So we've got stuff going up, we've got it going down, and looks pretty good as far as, say, something like a site plan would look. So I'm going to uncheck this in our soft selection, and maybe we want to do a little soft selection on this pyramid too. So again, we'll apply that edit poly and turn on our vertices, and again we check soft selection, we can make some changes, and now you can see that the hot spots where it's red are going to be the parts that are most affected by whatever we do, and down here where it's green and closer to blue, these are the parts that will be less affected. So just to do a quick edit, we're going to shift this over just a bit, and as you can see, fully affected and then less affected. So this is a good way of getting nice organic shapes out of your standard primitives, and then at any time you can actually change how it's affected as well. And now we can go and apply more selection to that spot. So again, another change, and then I'd say that's good enough for now. So we'll uncheck soft selection, we'll get out of this modifier, and just take a quick look at how this looks without the grid in place. So I'll hit F4, and you can see the edges go away, and where you can see grid is where our ground plane appears. This is to show us that everything that's the plane is below the ground plane here, and everywhere the grid doesn't appear is where we've created the plane above. So that's a good idea as to the shading and how this would look with our geometry. So soft selection is a great tool for creating topography on scene images for architectural projects. If you don't have other ways of doing it, of course there's other ways of doing it by bringing in geometry, say from Revit or AutoCAD, But this is one of the ways that you can make edits to that geometry after the fact. Thanks for watching.